10 betrayals, one band, and every single one of them should have been the end. I'm not talking about bad reviews or a tour that lost money. I'm talking about a producer who changed their record without telling them. A frontman who walked on stage in a costume nobody in the band had ever seen. A man who kept a secret for 6 months while 102 audiences cheered him. Some of these came from outside, the worst ones didn't, and by the end, you're going to understand why the last one is the only one that actually worked. 10, the founder who couldn't stay on stage. Genesis nearly ended in July 1970, and it had nothing to do with money, drugs, or ego. It was fear. Anthony Phillips was the engine. He co-founded the band. He wrote enormous amounts of the early material. That gorgeous 12-string sound that defines the first records? That's him and Rutherford. Weaving lines around each other like nobody else in England was doing. But the road broke him. Van floors, friends' floors. One night they had nowhere to sleep at all and ended up on the boards of somebody's enormous empty house in Buxton. And somewhere in all that, Phillips developed stage fright so severe it made him physically ill. He fought it for 3 months, thinking it would pass. Then he came down with bronchial pneumonia, and his doctor told him plainly, leave the band. His last show was the 18th of July, 1970. He'd just finished recording Trespass. The album came out that October, and he was already gone. Now here's the part that reframes everything. Banks and Rutherford were shattered. They genuinely believed Genesis was finished. You don't lose your main writer and your guitarist and carry on. They discussed folding it, they didn't, and a year later they released Nursery Crime, the album that finally sounds like the Genesis you know. And 2 of its cornerstones, The Musical Box and The Fountain of Salmacis, grew out of music Anthony Phillips helped write before he left. Think about that. The band's breakthrough was built on the shoulders of the guy who wasn't in the room to hear it. That's a specific kind of pain. Not being cheated, not being pushed. Just being the person whose body said no at exactly the wrong moment, while everyone you built it with kept walking. 9, the night. Peter Gabriel went behind their backs. The 28th of September, 1972, National Stadium, Dublin, an actual boxing venue. Genesis are midway through the musical box. Gabriel slips off stage during the instrumental section and comes back wearing his wife Jill's red dress and a fox's head. Nobody in that band knew. Not Banks, not Rutherford, not Collins. Tony Banks described it as an apparition coming toward him across the stage. Collins remembered the reaction being roughly, "What on earth is he doing?" Gabriel has been honest about why he didn't warn them. If he'd asked, there'd have been a long democratic discussion, and the answer would probably have been no. So he just didn't ask. And you know what? He was right. That photograph landed on the front cover of Melody Maker, and Genesis, a band nobody outside the prog circuit had heard of, went from earning about £35 a night to $350. Overnight, one costume. But stay with me, because here's the cost. From that night on, Gabriel kept doing it. The Flower Mask in Willow Farm, the geometric headpiece for Apocalypse in 9/8. The band found out at the same moment the audience did. Every time. You know that feeling when someone on your team does something brilliant, it works, everybody wins, and you still feel a little sick about how they did it? That's four musicians in 1972. And honestly, I think this is the most underrated turning point in the entire British rock timeline. Not because a man wore a fox head, because everything theatrical that followed in this genre traces back through that stage. If you were seeing shows in Britain or Ireland in the early 70s, you already know whether you were in a room when this happened. Some of you were.
Let's look at the numbers. Only 9% of you are actually subscribed. Honestly, that's tough to see. Our team spends days hunting down archives and verifying every single fact just to tell these stories right. If you've made it this far into the video, you're clearly part of the community, so please hit subscribe. It costs nothing and helps us immensely. Now, for those already subscribed, very few of you have made the jump to our membership, and that's a hard pill to swallow because you're the ones who know our value best. If this channel has moved you or inspired you, consider joining. It's the price of one coffee, but it's the literal fuel for this channel. Let's keep this alive together. Back to the story.
8. When five men became one man's backing band. Here's the cruelty of what happened next. The thing that finally made Genesis famous also made 4/5 of them invisible. By 1973 and 74, reviewers were showing up for the spectacle. Reviews centered almost entirely on Gabriel's costumes and Gabriel's presence. With the actual playing treated as background, which irritated the rest of the band enormously. And you can understand why. Steve Hackett has described it as being the pit orchestra, while Gabriel was the star of the show. And this is where the irony gets almost unbearable. Genesis had specifically built themselves to prevent this. Their songwriting was credited collectively. The whole point was that nobody got elevated above anyone else. A cooperative, a democracy, designed quite deliberately so that the disparity that wrecks most bands couldn't happen here. It didn't matter. The press picked a face anyway. The press always picks a face. And here's the second turn, the one nobody expects. That democratic system, Gabriel himself later said it had become the problem. In his own words, the vehicle they'd built to serve their songwriting had become their master. Getting a single idea through the committee took more effort than the idea was worth. So the structure meant to protect them from resentment was generating resentment on both sides at once. The four of them resented being invisible. He resented being trapped. How do you fix something like that? You can't. There's no version of that conversation that ends well. If you've ever built something with people specifically so it would be fair, and watched it become the exact thing you were guarding against, you know there's no villain in that story, just a design flaw nobody spotted until it was load-bearing. Seven, the phone box, the film director, and the baby in intensive care summer 1974.
Movie palace is now undone.
Genesis check into Headley Grange in Hampshire to write. They arrived to find the place filthy and overrun with rats, left in a state by whoever was in there before them.
Suspension cracked on an unmade road.
That's the pleasant part of this story. Gabriel has an idea for a double album about a kid called Rael, and he insists on writing every lyric himself, alone, in a separate room, while the other four jam the music into shape. Already, that's a band splitting into two halves. Then the phone rings. William Friedkin, the director of The Exorcist, one of the biggest names in cinema on the planet at that moment, has read a strange short piece Gabriel wrote on the sleeve of Genesis Live and wants him to help develop a film.
Lies down.
So picture this. Gabriel cycling down a hill from Headley Grange to a public phone box, pockets stuffed with 10-pence pieces, calling Hollywood. He asked the band for time off to do it. They said no. He quit. And here's how it got resolved. Not by the band. Their management called Friedkin and told him he was on the verge of breaking up a group. Friedkin backed off. Gabriel came back sheepishly and finished the record. But the second thing happening that summer is the one that actually reorganized his life. His daughter Anna Marie was born in late July after a complicated birth, and she ended up in intensive care in London while the band recorded in Wales. 5-hour drives, back and forth, between a mobile studio and a hospital, and Hackett was collapsing at the same time. His first marriage was ending.
Ocean winds blow across the land.
6. The secret he carried for 102 shows. A few dates into the American leg of the Lamb tour, Peter Gabriel told his bandmates he was leaving. Late 1974. The album has barely been in shops 5 minutes. The stage show is enormous. 3 screens, over 1,000 slides fired from 8 projectors, lasers, costume changes. The tour had already been pushed back because Hackett badly injured his hand. And now the man at the center of all of it has quietly handed in his notice.
We've gotta get it.
And here's what they did about it. Nothing. They kept going. They performed that album, in full, 102 times. Through America, through Europe, ending in France in May 1975. Every night, the frontman walked out and gave everything he had to a room full of people who had absolutely no idea they were watching a goodbye. Neither did most of the crew.
We've gotta get him to get out.
Gabriel even agreed to stay quiet for a while after the tour ended, to give the band room to work out what came next. 6 months of that, 6 months of pretending.
We've gotta get him to get out.
Then in August 1975, Melody Maker ran a front page essentially asking whether Gabriel was out. Charisma Records initially denied it, while the remaining 4 were already in a studio, writing the next Genesis album. When Gabriel finally released his own statement on the 6th of September, he insisted the press printed in full or not at all. He wasn't going to be summarized by anyone. Some people call what he did loyal. He finished the job. He didn't strand them mid-tour. Others call it the coldest thing in this entire story. I'll let you decide which side you're on, because I genuinely go back and forth. But if you were at one of those shows, you were watching something end, and nobody told you. 5 400 tapes and the answer behind the drum kit. After Gabriel left, Genesis seriously considered becoming an instrumental band. I'm not exaggerating. Tony Banks in particular thought about it. Most of their material was written before anyone worked out how it'd be sung anyway. That's how lost they were. Instead, they placed a deliberately anonymous advertisement in Melody Maker. Singer wanted for a Genesis-type group. No name attached, because the moment the name got out, it'd be a circus. Over 400 tapes came back. They listened to all of them, whittled it down to around 30 people, and started bringing candidates in, 2 or 3 a day at one point. And the man whose job it was to sit with each applicant and teach them how the melodies actually went? Phil Collins, the drummer. He taught 400 people's worth of hopefuls how to be the singer of Genesis. And not one person in that band, including him, considered him a candidate. Then a vocalist called Mick Strickland got all the way to Trident Studios. Rutherford thought he had the right bluesy voice. They handed him Squonk. The backing track was already recorded, in a key that was completely wrong for him. That first line is brutal. He battled through it, and everyone in the room knew it wasn't happening. Strickland left, and Collins, mostly out of impatience, offered to sing it himself, purely so they could finish the record. He fully assumed they'd hire a real frontman before the tour. He sang Squonk, then another one, then another one. Some of y'all just said, "I knew it" out loud. I heard you. Here's the emotional truth. They came within one uncomfortable audition of hiring a stranger and burying the second biggest voice in rock history behind a drum kit forever. 4. The ultimatum nobody talks about. In 1975, Steve Hackett did something no member of Genesis had ever done. He made a solo album, Voyage of the Acolyte. And here's the thing about it. It wasn't a vanity project. A lot of that music was material he'd brought to Genesis. And Genesis had passed on. He had a hard drive's worth of ideas with nowhere to go, so he made a record. It did well. Critics respected it. And I know inside you care. Some fans preferred it to what the band was doing. Record companies started asking him about the next one, and that's when the trouble started. Hackett has said that Tony Banks told him directly he couldn't keep making solo albums and remain a member of Genesis. Banks was effectively leading the band by then, Rutherford backing him, and according to Hackett, the line was blunt. If you don't like it, you know what you can do. He asked for something reasonable. A guaranteed percentage of the writing on each album, not a majority. A share. A guarantee that some of what he brought in would survive the room. They said no, because the band was a democracy, and in a true democracy, only the best ideas make the cut, and nobody gets a reserved seat, which sounds noble, and it is noble. So say you have. It's also how you lose people, and here's the part that still gets me. Some of the material Genesis passed on, they later told him they liked. He'd walked away partly because he was convinced they never would. Being outvoted isn't the same as being wrong, but after enough years, your ears stop being able to tell the difference. 3. The man who simply didn't turn up. The 3rd of July, 1977, final night of the Wind and Wuthering Tour. Genesis were voted best live group in the world that year, and I'd argue that lineup earned it about 4 times over. Nobody in the building knew it was Steve Hackett's last show, including, possibly, Steve Hackett. What happened next happened in a mixing room. The band was assembling Seconds Out, the live album that catches them at their absolute peak. And to make it, you sit and listen to the same songs, again and again. Hackett has said he simply could not hear I Know What I Like one more time after months of playing it nightly. And there was something underneath that. He'd played to 20,000 people a night. He looked around and couldn't find anything left to reach for, so he rang Mike Rutherford and told him he was leaving, and Rutherford, who knew he'd been unhappy for a long time, didn't even try to talk him out of it. Then this. Rutherford's description of the exit is that he just didn't turn up one day. Collins remembers seeing him in the street afterwards and offering him a lift, and Hackett saying no. That's it. That's the end of the classic Genesis lineup. A phone call, an empty chair, and a declined ride. They finished mixing the album without him. His guitar is all over it. It's his last Genesis record, and he wasn't in the room when they signed off on it. For my money, the Firth of Fifth solo is the single most beautiful thing anyone in this band ever played. And guitarists have spent 50 years arguing about how much of what came after started with him. I know some of you will fight me on that. Two, the betrayal that wasn't the band's fault. This one isn't about the music business at all, and it's the closest Genesis came to just quietly stopping. 1978. And Then There Were Three has finally cracked America. Real success for the first time after 11 years. And Phil Collins' wife Andrea told him plainly, "If you commit to this tour, I won't be here when you get back." He did the tour. He was convinced the band was about to break through, and he was right, and it cost him everything. By the end of 1978, she'd taken the children to Vancouver. Collins sat down with Banks, Rutherford, and their manager Tony Smith, and told them he was going after his family, and Genesis would have to wait. They said yes without hesitation. For what it's worth, Banks went off to make A Curious Feeling. Rutherford made Small Creeps Day. Genesis was, functionally, over. Nobody said the word split. Nobody had to. Collins spent months in Canada trying to rebuild a marriage that couldn't be rebuilt. And then he came home to Surrey, alone. Both his bandmates deep in their own records. And here's where it turns. Sitting in an empty house with nothing but time and wreckage, Phil Collins started writing songs by himself for the first time in his life. Not band songs, his songs. Some of that material became Duke, the album that put Turn It On Again into the UK top 10 and sent Misunderstanding to number 14 in America. The rest of it became his solo career. The most commercially unstoppable decade any British band had in the 80s came directly out of a man losing his family. I don't know what to do with that. I'm not sure there's a clean way to feel about it, and I'm not going to pretend there is. One, the one that actually worked. Every betrayal on this list failed to kill Genesis. This is the one that didn't fail. March 1996. After 25 years, Phil Collins leaves, and Banks and Rutherford do the thing they'd done before. They carry on. They'd survived losing a frontman once. Why not twice? Tony Smith rings a 28-year-old Scottish singer called Ray Wilson. Wilson had fronted Stiltskin, whose single Inside went to number 1 across Europe off the back of a jeans advert, and then vanished. He's making coffee at 10 in the morning when the phone goes and someone asks if he'd like to audition to replace Phil Collins. Calling All Stations comes out on the 1st of September, 1997, number 2 in the UK, number 54 in America. Only one single, Congo, breaks the UK top 40 at 29. Then ticket sales come in soft, the production gets scaled back, and the entire American leg is canceled. A few years earlier, they were filling football stadiums. After the 1998 tour, Banks and Rutherford put Genesis on indefinite hold. Wilson later described the whole experience as being taken to the top of Everest and thrown off, and critics blamed him. A man who did an almost impossible job well and got erased for it. But here's the reveal. Late 2005. All five of them, Gabriel, Collins, Banks, Rutherford, Hackett, sat in a room together in Glasgow to talk about taking The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway back out on the road and finally filming it properly, something they never managed across 102 performances. It fizzled. No blow-up, no argument. Just five men who couldn't find enough common ground to turn the clock back. Genesis toured in 2007 as 3.5 million people in Rome, and Steve Hackett, by his own account, waited for a call that never came. That's the betrayal that finally landed. Not a walkout, not a firing, just the slow discovery that you can't go home.